Hello and welcome to this episode of Voices of Fostering. Today I'm delighted to be joined by one of our foster carers, Sue. Hello, Sue.
Hello, Helen.
Hello, thank you so much for being with us today. And I'm really looking forward to hearing all about your fostering journey. It's the best part of 20 years, isn't it, that you've been fostering, Sue?
Yeah, it is. A
Yeah.
long time, lifetime.
So going back all that time ago, nearly 2 decades, can you remember what it was that drew you to fostering? Why did you decide to do it?
Well, there was lots of reasons, really. For personal reasons, I needed to be at home with my daughter. Well, not with my daughter. She was obviously at school. But I needed to be there for her. And I needed an income. Never going to get rich being a foster carer. I will add that. But, and my friends were fostering and they suggested, you like kids, you like children. My house was always full of my daughter's friends. So why don't you give it a go? And yes, I started and never looked back, really.
So you were that mum, were you, Sue, where, you know, the door was always open to all your daughter's friends and, you know, you were always very welcoming?
Yeah, door was always open and I was the taxi. Yeah, it was not party night, but the house was full every night, yeah. I didn't want my daughter hanging around on corners or outside the chip shop. So it was a case of I made them welcome into my home.
Yeah. And Sue, you describe yourself as a lone foster carer. So was this something that you always did by yourself?
Always.
Yeah.
My husband died before I started fostering.
Yeah.
And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to be home for my daughter. I didn't want to be doing a job where she was, you know, coming home to an empty house after that. So, so I am lone.
Yeah.
But I do have lots of support from family and friends and other foster carers.
Yeah, because I think there might be people listening or watching who are, you know, by themselves and they maybe think that excludes them from being a foster carer, but that's not the case, is it? What would you say to anybody who was maybe thinking about doing it by themselves?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're on your own or with a partner, you're always going to face challenges. The difference is, you're on your own when it comes to supporting those children and carrying out all the fundamental tasks that a foster carer has to do, you know. But if you've got good family and you've got good friends and other foster carers within your area that you get on with, support groups, then it's great. It's a reason, keeps me alive. I know I'm alive when I've got children in the house. Because my daughter's obviously grown up now and gone. So I am totally on my own. And young people, you know you're alive when you've got young people around you.
And you said, Sue, you don't actually know how many children and young people you've had to live with you. Is that because there's so many you just can't keep track?
To a certain extent, I've always been short term. I've never done long term. I've always been classed as a short term carer.
Yeah.
So yes, there are a few children that I still keep contact with that stayed with me for 2-3 years. 3 years, I think, is the longest, and keep contact. But then I've done a lot of respite and a lot of emergency. And at the moment, I suppose I'm a bit also of a bridging placement. So if a young person is between placements for whatever reason, they can come to me. And I've also done just recently 17-year-olds waiting to go into independence.
Right, okay. Yeah.
So a lot have come through my front door.
And going way back to your first child or young person who came to live with you, surely you remember them. What was that like?
At first, very worrying because as a first placement, you don't know, do you? You just don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
So, yes, to start off with, quite worrying. But once that young person has been in your home for a short period of time, even just that day, that evening, you obviously start to know them, and so it becomes less daunting, not frightening, less daunting.
And you say you've had all sorts of different types of fostering. What is your fostering household like now then, Sue? You know, who do you have living with you now?
At the moment, I've got two young ladies living with me, sisters, 12 and 13, coming on 19 and 20. And it's good. They're between placements, so I'm looking after them till another placement is found,
Yeah.
and then they'll move on to a long-term foster carer.
And I imagine over the 18 years, Sue, you know, you've had some ups and downs. What are some of the challenges that you faced over that time?
Lots, really, I suppose. There are certain young people that stand out. I think knife crime was one, and gang related. I think that was my worst challenge, probably. Um, a young man that was into gangs, into drugs, into county lines, and I think probably that was my worst challenge. Yeah.
And did you feel supported in that? Did you feel that you had somewhere to turn, that, you know, your social worker or that the people around you were there to support you with that situation?
Very much so. Yeah, I have a really good, I think, the best. What do
Sup
they call them these days?
Supervising
Link
social
worker,
worker.
supervising
Yeah.
social worker. And I think she's the best. She's really good. She's always there for me. Doesn't matter the day, the time, the day. She's there. I've even sent her messages like really late at night, really early in the morning. And yes, she might not actually be at work, but she will. If it's an emergency, she will still respond.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's really good. And you get to know, I've had that particular supervising social worker for a long time now. So we've got to know each other
Yeah.
very, very well.
And as you say, Sue, you know, there are some challenging times. And you said there that, you know, you had a young person living with you who was unfortunately involved in, you know, some things that they shouldn't have been involved in. What's it like facing those types of things? Because unfortunately, some of the children and young people that come into your care as a foster carer are unfortunately involved in those things. What's it like dealing with that?
You have to be extra vigilant, I suppose. Sort of just keeping your eye on things. You've got to keep your finger on the pulse all the time. And yeah, it's quite tiring because you can't afford to, take your eye off the ball. You have to be there all the time, just concentrating, watching, and knowing what's going on around you. I mean, I was not the best place for that young person. That young person needed a dual placement, needed two carers,
Yeah.
which was highlighted and which the fostering organisation dealt with. But yes, you just had to be extra vigilant and
Yeah.
very awake.
So they were some of the more challenging times for you. But what about the good times, Sue? You know, tell us about some of the best moments of the last 18 years.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are. I think some of the best moments are when young people go into independence and succeed.
Yeah.
Those are the best moments. And I still have girls in their 20s, probably early 30s, thinking about it. That, yeah, phone me up regularly,
Yeah.
message me regularly. And they're now settled with families of their own. And I think that's one of the best things, seeing that happen.
Yeah. How does that feel, Sue? You must feel very proud.
It feels really good, yeah. Yeah. It does feel really good. I can't describe it really. I mean, I don't know how you put it into words, that feeling of, it's not a feeling of satisfaction, or it's just a nice feeling, that you've accomplished something.
And if there was anyone listening or watching, Sue, who was thinking about becoming a foster carer, but maybe, they had some worries or concerns, or, they didn't think maybe it was right for them, what would you say to them? How would you encourage them to do it?
I think you can only try, can't you? When I first started, I put a lot of restrictions on the young people that would come to me. Because we were a very girly house, I said only girls. Yeah. And above the age of, I went for teenagers more than. And then I learned that that's not the case. Boys need a place just as much as girls need a place. And I think you have to try it. That's the thing, isn't it? And I think when that first person walks through your door and they settle in and you become friends, sorry about the parrot,
I
you
was
become
wondering,
friends.
I was thinking that there is definitely an animal, but I can't quite identify what animal it is.
The parrot. Yeah, when that first person comes through your door and settles down and they're at home and you start enjoying things together,
Yeah.
that's when it all changes.
Yeah.
And the parrot is.
Well, I
the
was just
draw
going to
for-
say, Sue, we've got to talk about the parrot now. Surely the parrot is a real nice sort of tool, if you like, for helping to settle children and young people into your home.
Yeah, more so than any other animal. I used to be like a mini zoo. I had a daughter that was animal mad. So we had 4 guinea pigs, we had hamster cages all over the house. I ended up taking in hamsters from other foster children. I had chickens, I had ducks, I had turkeys, I had snakes, tortoises, guinea pigs, rabbits. Out of all the animals I've ever had in my house, the parrot is the one. But even dogs, I had 2 dogs. Because children can be very wary of dogs, because they're more lively, aren't they? The parrot is contained, but she's noisy. So when people are in the room and they're talking and they're not talking to her, then she gets quite noisy. And
she get a bit jealous.
She does. And children are, and young people, it doesn't matter how old they are fascinated by the parrot. And they all want the parrot to be their friend. Forget about all the other animals. They want the parrot to be their friend. That is their aim. So she's a good, a good talking point, and she relaxes the atmosphere, because she'll say something and everybody will burst into laughter.
So what sort of words does she say? Can she say all sorts?
She'll say hello. She'll say night. She'll say bye. She knows when you put your coat on, you're leaving the house. They're quite clever in some ways. She whistles. She does the McDonald's theme. She whistles. She's picked that up off the telly. She whistles the Addams Family.
Oh, goodness.
I've got a terrible. I'm always saying, right then. So she says, right then. Come on. She called the dogs. Some of the children that have lived here, she'll shout their names.
Yeah.
And they're always saying to me, who's this? Who's that? And I go, oh, it's somebody that used to live here. Will she ever call my name? So then they tried to teach her their name. So she's got quite a few names in her repertoire.
So you might not be able to remember everyone for the past 18 years, but she does.
She's got it. And that she'll stop saying a name, and then for some reason that name might crop up, and then she suddenly remembers and she'll start all over again.
So what's her name, Sue?
Bubbles.
Bubbles. Right, well, I will leave you and Bubbles to it because we don't want to get any more jealous, do we? So thank you so much for talking to us, Sue. It's been really, really lovely to chat to you, and it's been lovely to hear Bubbles as well. Take care, Sue. Thanks so much.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Voices of Fostering. If you'd like to find out more, head online and search National Fostering Group and make this the year you foster.